Okay, Representative Batinick.
I'm going to try to do this in the interest of time. Well, we don't like the amendment because we don't think 17 and a half, we think those are arbitrary numbers at an increasing rate. So, you know, our side of the aisle has spoke. Here's what we want to see. We're willing to get this bill out of committee if you commit to bringing a different amendment back that can be approved by the committee for a floor vote. And our agreement is this. We understand that there's a liability between the secondary department and the full-time department, but the numbers that you gave in the amendment are arbitrary. We just think they should be the actuarial cost. So it should be whatever the actuarial cost is for disability and occupational disease. The idea that it's tiered is that, to me, that's just arbitrary. So if you agree, we agree, and if everybody in the room agrees to the idea of an amendment that basically says this percentage of payroll actuary covers the disability cost from part-time fire district to full-time fire district, we'll give you a vote you need to get it out of committee to bring it back for a vote on that floor amendment in committee. That's the offer.
So, Representative, as we have for the last 3 years, and I very much appreciate the offer and your willingness to support the bill, to continue negotiations, and I'm sure you've experienced this yourself, we have negotiated against ourselves through this entire process with the exception of the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association. The proposals that we were given in terms of the rates to make them more affordable for the secondary employer, we looked at it, said, yes, we'll do it to make the bill better for you, to come to like somewhat of an agreement. I think they went neutral as a result of it. I've not been offered a proposal from an opponent that would reflect your request. If we were, we would certainly request it. Just
okay,
like
here's
we
your
have
opponent.
every
Your
offer.
opponent is the Republican people of this committee. The solution here is there is a known actuarial number. So I'm giving you the proposal now. We have time to bring this back and work on an amendment. And in order to get a vote, to get this out of committee, to bring it back for the amendment, is to just have the part-time fire district cover their actuarial costs for disability and occupational disease issues. And if you want to put in there the reporting, that's fine. That's the offer to me. That if somebody has a reason why that doesn't make sense, they're going to have to explain it here. But that's what we talked about. You know what our caucus has talked about.
Representative, without knowing what those numbers were, because like honesty is a very important part of this process, and I think I've always adhered to that principle. I don't know what those numbers are. So to be asked to accept an offer, the first time I've considered it, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look to the sponsor. It's his bill, but I don't know what those numbers are. Do you have like the numbers?
I know there's an actuarial number, and whatever it is what the liability is. Whatever it is, right? So however you figure that out actuarially, I know that that's the fair way of looking at it. The fair way of looking at it is to say there's a cost. We all in this committee admit that there's a cost. We shouldn't pull numbers from out of the air. We should do the math on it to figure out what the cost is, and then we move on.
So, again, I would look to the sponsor of the bill for a response. I can't answer for him.
So, Representative, those actuarial numbers, and I believe if we go to the pension code, over 20,000, it's 17% contribution to begin with, correct? Is that what?
It wasn't arbitrary. That was the minimum.
That's the minimum contribution rate.
Right, but that includes pension.
So, Representative, let me answer your question a different way. I would very much like to agree to that, but regardless of whether or not we look at it and believe that's a fair actuarial analysis of the actual impact to the funds, it's going to come back regardless. I will commit absolutely, since the entire underlying principles of the bill, to compensate that primary employer's pension fund for the liabilities that are being created by the duty disability, as well as the occupational disease portions of the payment, then yes, that we will absolutely work to get to that number. I just can't sit here and honestly tell you. I don't want to be misrepresentative in the future.
Then we'll make it easy on everybody. Maybe even the opponents don't need to testify. If that's what our goal is, and that's what we're going to try to bring back, we're fine. The issue with the amendment is that that's tied to rates that include pension costs. And there's no pension costs that are born of the full-time district because of what the part-time district is doing.
That is an entirely legitimate issue, correct?
Correct. So there's only disability and occupational disease costs. So we just want to find that number, come up with what's fair, bring it back in amendment, everybody's happy.
I will personally work with you and Representative Walsh to be able to reach that number, but again, I've not been offered that proposal previous to sitting in front of the committee, so you understand how it's a bit of an awkward
I understand
response,
it,
right?
and this kind of hit my desk the last couple of days. Had a conversation last night. We kind of tried to talk through what was a fair solution, and as a caucus, that's what we kind of came up with. And I think that there's broader agreement even from some of the opponents on that.
I think the representative and myself both would commit to working with you on it.
Okay, then we're done. Thank you.